All right, Kruger, what's going on?
What's going on? Third time's a charm?
I'll take the blame on this. I told you when you came over I was watching The Last Exorcism on Sci-Fi.
Ever since then, you've been a little...
I'm frazzled. I'm all over the place. I can't get the microphones to work. I can't get the intro to work.
You're not going to sleep tonight?
I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'm going to be up all night. I think we're recording. Hopefully this comes out good, but...
We'll still talk for an hour, even if it isn't.
Yeah, well, you came over and we started talking, and I go, oh, right, might as well start recording.
We talked about everything we want to talk about, but not on the air.
Yeah, so what's going on?
Not much. Great time of year, right?
Best time of the year. It's my one. I just love the cooler weather.
Yep. Fall's the best.
Although the last couple of days were just really muggy.
You know, it's funny. The last couple of days, you go outside. Like, I would go outside and do something quickly in the morning, and it's cold. And then you, leave at, 10, and you're like, oh, jeez, I got, a sweat going.
Yeah.
You have, pants on and,
Yeah, it is. But I think the next few days are going to cool down. But a lot going on right now, a lot to get into. Right off the bat, it's funny to go from a whole week leading up to Rex Ryan and the Bills, listening to sports radio, prepping, debating whether or not the Bills are for real.
Yep.
The Pats put that to rest, at least for now.
For a while.
They got to play each other again. You go from that week to the following week, big build up to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's like complete.
And then you had the bye week.
And then now we're in the bye week.
Yeah.
So they didn't even play this weekend. The new CBA, by the way, mandates 4 days off for the players. I didn't realize that.
Meaning during the bye
During
week?
a bye week.
Well, I
yeah.
do know that naturally they never practice on Monday or Tuesday. I did notice that they practiced yesterday, and then they just gave them the rest of the week off. Obviously, I didn't realize that was the rule, but I just thought that's kind of what they do.
So one of the sports radio shows had a player on, and they asked them, hey, do you think Bill's going to give you some time off?
Yep.
And he said, actually, it's mandated 4 days off.
I didn't know that.
So
I didn't know that.
They have all new rules.
Why practice Wednesday? What do you do on Wednesday? I mean, you can't. They can't. I can't imagine it was any intensity to it.
I wonder if the coaches take time off. Do you think Belichick takes time off?
Probably not. But they're probably like, well, rather than getting at 6, you can come in at 10 or something.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
But what? So you have to go from the Bills to the Jaguars to the bye week, then to the Cowboys, which would have been pretty exciting if Romo was healthy. If Bryant was healthy, if they still had DeMarco Murray and he was healthy. But who's their quarterback now? Brandon Weeden?
Yep. They signed Castle.
Oh, they got Matt Castle backing him up. So, it'll be nice to see him back in action. But so this week, the big topic, the big debate, because people have to just fill airwaves and write articles about something, has been, they're comparing this year's team to the undefeated, the regular season 16-0. From what, 07?
Yep, 07, yep.
Can this team go 16-0? And I just want to throw this out there and let you know how I feel about. You have different sneakers on every time I see you.
I have. You've never seen me wear these?
Those are pretty nice. I like those. I like the black and then the green.
These were pretty cheap, actually.
Were they?
Yeah. That's why I bought them.
I looked at your feet. So, anyways, where was I? The
undefeated season.
Undefeated season. So my initial thought was, it's 3 games into the year.
It's nuts.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
What are you doing comparing this year's team to the undefeated team? And then I'm starting to get into the, Patriot mentality and going, somebody brought up the point that it's very rare to have a defending Super Bowl champion. Like, how do you motivate your team after coming off a championship? And the NFL's given them every reason. So here's my point. I'm not running from the 16-0 talk.
Yep.
I'm embracing it. I'm being honest. I'm being truthful. Hey, the Pats have the best coaches in the league.
Yep.
Name the second best coach in the NFL. The Bengals don't scare me because I feel like Marvin Lewis will screw it up.
Yeah, and look, the Bengals are in a situation where they're that team where I'm not going to buy in until they prove they can do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I want to say it's been 4 years they've been one and done.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, if you remember, it's not like they've been in these games, and some of them have been at home and they've laid huge eggs.
Let's embrace it.
Yeah.
Let's go for 16-0. Let's embarrass teams. Let's run scores up. Let's not run away from the fact that the Patriots are very, very good.
Yep.
They have the best coaching staff. They have the best tight end. They have the best quarterback. Broncos defense is going to give them a hard time.
Yep.
You know, who knows? You never know what's going to happen on Sunday or Monday or whenever they play. But
I think that for me, first and foremost, I mean, it's always tough to talk about because they never finish it off. But at the same time, like 16-0, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing to go 16-0. And I think to an extent it's not celebrated enough. I don't know if celebrate is the right word, but everything happened so quick where they got to the 16-0, and then before you know it, the playoffs happen, and then they lose, and then everyone's in the dump.
Focus more on the one loss.
Yeah, where no one had a time to sit there and say, just think about all the things that could go wrong. Mm-hmm. Even if you have what if a guy's hurt and out for a week? Yeah. A big name, not even a season-ending injury. Yeah. What happens if so-and-so pulls a hamstring and they're done for a week and you're facing the Broncos? Yeah. I'll tell you what, no one motivates themselves better than the Patriots do, and I'm not ready to buy into it yet, just because I don't think people understand how hard it is. How hard it is.
Injuries happen.
Injuries,
Gronk goes down. Jules goes down. Forbid Brady goes down.
The other thing is, and this might have been the most impressive part about the 2007 season, is they're going to get everyone's best shot. No one likes the Patriots. They're very successful. They're arrogant, which is fine.
I've been saying this for a couple years now, and I don't think it's limited to just the NFL.
Yeah.
I think it's across professional sports as a whole.
Yeah.
I just think the level of competition, maybe not, maybe the NFL, maybe the NBA. Let's focus on the NFL though. I feel like the level of competition and the skills.
Yeah,
the skill set for these players is just there's nothing there.
That was one of the things I wanted to bring up because you spoke about this on our podcast. It was before the year. Did they play? No, they've already played the Steelers. So 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, excuse me. And I started to watch a little more, not just the Patriots, but just games in general. And you're 100% right.
It's not good.
So here's and I texted actually one of my friends about this. Extra points, right?
Yeah.
So now they're pushed back. I think it's a 25, 26, 27 yard. These guys are missing them left and right. It's all mental. I don't know if they're pissed that they're pushing them back or, but it's it's not a chip shot, but it's not as easy as it was, but it's within 30 yards. And one thing I noticed is I'm pretty sure they're allowed to put it where they want it. They want it on the left hash. They want it right down the middle. They want it on the right hash. I was watching guys miss them left and right.
I feel like you nowadays what separates the elite from the middle of the pack, the elite from the all-stars is I think drugs.
Yep.
I think performance enhancing drugs. And then also I just think that you have some guys who just actually buy into the system.
Yep.
Do what they're supposed to do.
Yep.
And follow directions.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are a lot of guys in the NFL right now who don't follow directions.
Yeah.
And I just think it's more apparent than ever when you sit down and you watch a game. Like if we turn on the Ravens and Steelers game,
it's going to be a disaster.
It's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And I just
How about the lack of practice?
I think a lack of practice plays into not only the poor
and not lack of practice, like rules. Like they have certain rules. I don't remember who it was. They were talking about offensive line play, and they were saying I can't remember who it was, but when they were playing in the NFL, they had 10 in training camp, 10 padded practices a week.
Yeah,
they're not allowed to do more than 3, I believe.
I think
by rule.
I think that absolutely plays into it, and I also think
and I'm pretty sure double sessions are out. Those no longer exist.
I think that also plays a lot more time in the weight rooms.
Yep.
And in training
and
rooms
I remember
nowadays.
one time they had Belichick mic'd up at practice, and he was giving his guys a hard time because it was a Friday practice before the game. He said, when I was with the Giants, every Friday we were in full pads.
Really?
And they were stretching out, and they had nothing but helmets, shirts, T-shirts. He said every Friday we were in pads.
So that has led to a decline maybe in skill set.
Yeah.
And then also
Or
injuries.
just playing as a team, just kind of knowing your teammates
Getting
a
to
little
know
bit.
each other's tendencies.
Yeah.
And then I think injuries too. You see a lot of guys go down very early on, the no contact plays, and maybe that has something to do with it too. I don't know. Maybe players are getting hurt and maybe they were just tougher back then.
Yeah.
But any surprises so far in the NFL season that has jumped out to you? I know there's a handful of teams that are 3-0.
I don't have a ton of surprises at the 3-0. I'm not ready to write off the Broncos or Peyton Manning. The Broncos remind me of the 2013 Patriots. You remember that year? Where just every game was just a grind. Like whether they were playing the best team in the league or the worst team. You remember that year they went to Houston, and I think the Texans had one win at the time, and they won 31-30. But they just continued to win. I just think they're going to be there in the end.
Okay, I respectfully disagree. I think Peyton Manning.
Now my concern with Peyton Manning is he's looked better. Hasn't looked great. What's he going to do when it's November, December?
Yeah.
He stunk in November and December when he was fully healthy,
That's what I was just going to say is as the weather gets colder, he starts playing outdoors.
And that's on him. I mean, he picked to go to Denver. It's cold in Denver in November and December.
I think Denver, because their defense will be tough, a tough challenge. I think the Colts are a mess. Can I also bring something else up? Because a big topic this week has also been discussion about who the best in the league is right now. And everyone's putting Aaron Rodgers ahead of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
That bothers me, and I don't know why. But
Do you know Aaron Rodgers has been to 2 NFC Championship games?
And won one, right?
He won the one that they won to the Super Bowl, and then last year he lost.
The guy.
The way they talk, you feel like he was there every year.
Yeah.
And he's been the quarterback for 8-9 years?
Plus, he's come out and openly admitted that he likes the level of the air pressure in his football way above.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody's jumped on
He's
that.
like Inflategate.
Yeah, he's not Deflategate, he's Inflategate. Yeah. And I don't know. I just feel like Aaron Rodgers right now is the flavor of the month. And the guy has one Super Bowl ring. He's very talented. He gets a lot of points in fantasy each week. But everyone just is so quick to be like, Aaron Rodgers is the best in the game right now. It's like, no, he's not. You have the Super Bowl MVP who had a horrific offseason and now has come out of the gate on fire.
And he looks better than ever.
Looks better than ever, and you're telling me, Aaron? No, I'm sorry. I don't buy into that.
Aaron Rodgers is just part of it is he's played. First of all, he's played 2 out of the first 3 games at home, and he's like Superman at home. But he's a good quarterback on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really talented. But it's just that's why I hate these debates. Let's when both their careers over, let's have the debate.
Can I readjust? So I don't like people who say no doubt about it, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
You can have a discussion
Yeah.
and make points for each, but for those people who sit there and go no doubt about it, there's not even a comparison.
Yeah.
It's Aaron Rodgers 1, Tom Brady 2. It's like no. Okay, maybe Aaron at Rodgers I can understand, but give me a couple valid points but it's like it's not that big of an extreme.
What does he do? What part of his game is that much better than Tom Brady's? Other than he's more mobile.
I was just gonna say he runs around in the pocket, and sometimes he'll run for first.
It's not like there's no throws that Brady can't make that he makes.
Maybe throws the
maybe a little deep ball.
Passes.
Yeah.
People like to jump on Brady because he'll throw it 5 to 7 yards, 7 to 10 yards. You
ever notice how wide open Brady's receivers are though?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you throw it to him?
I just the whole talk, the Patriot bashing has reached an uncomfortable level.
Yeah.
It's at a point now where I don't get mad at people who trash the Patriots. The Bart Scott today went off, or yesterday went off on Brady's toughness.
That's It's just jealousy.
It's
Yeah.
Doesn't it sound? You know
You
what?
just sound stupid, you know?
It sounds to me like a ploy for that person's employer. I feel like, okay, Bart Scott works for CBS.
Yes, I think he
I feel like
yeah.
somebody in the CBS production team went to him and said, "Say something controversial.
So
The
we can-
Patriots
yeah.
hot right now, so people are gonna talk to you. They're gonna try to watch where you are, and you're on CBS." Like, I feel like these guys don't think on their
Yeah.
own, and I feel like they're like, "Okay, yeah," and they think the Pats cheated,
Yeah.
so they just, yeah, I'll say that. But it's at a point right now where I don't even care. It's more me listening to the radio on the right way home
Yeah.
and being like, are these guys serious? Like, it's kind of
Someone
it's
else-
really uncomfortable.
Someone else. Oh, it's like Chris Sims or something did did his top 5 quarterbacks last year when Brady was, at this time when he was struggling, didn't have Brady in it, and then he did it again this year and still didn't. It's like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
why are we even talking about?
Yeah.
I saw the thing about Bart Scott on the Twitter. I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, of course, these people are retweeting it and making big deals out of it. It's like, who gives a crap?
Yeah.
You think Tom Brady's sitting there? I can't believe Bart Scott's talking about it. He's probably like, who?
I was
Chris Sims? Who?
I was thinking about Brady and his Hall of Fame. When he gets into the Hall of Fame and he's giving a speech,
Yep.
like, how much? There's a part of me that wants him to recognize the people who are important to him.
Yep.
Big games, and then at the very end, just go down a list.
Yeah.
Bart Scott, Chris Mortensen, all the beat writers from Indianapolis,
Yeah.
and just go down and just be like, "F you,"
Yeah.
like, screw you guys, and but he'll never do.
He
that.
won't do that.
But yeah, the NFL. I don't know. I don't have any games. I'm not gonna. I'm not looking
Surprises?
forward to any games this week.
Yeah, surprises on the bad side, the Ravens. I'm actually the Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Yeah.
I watched the Bills Dolphins game last weekend.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Tyrod Taylor sitting in the pocket picking them apart. It's like, come on.
Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
He's getting paid I think close to $20 million.
$19 million.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is silly money.
And people were ripping the guy from the Seahawks, trashing quarterbacks for being mediocre and getting paid big money. There's your prime example.
Oh, he's making more than Brady.
It's not even close, I don't think. I don't think Brady's more than 10.
He's making more than Brady. I will say this. Broncos, I like their defense. Packers, I think it's going to be Patriots-Packers in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I do think the Steelers, if Roethlisberger comes back healthy,
Yep.
I think they'll be there in the AFC. And the NFC, I like the Packers, and I like the Cardinals. The
They've been
Cardinals
very good
were
so
very
far.
good, and they were one very good drive away from winning the Super Bowl with Carson Palmer. Was that Kurt Warner?
Yes,
Oh,
Kurt
damn
Warner.
it.
But you remember
Well,
last
that
year
wasn't very-
they were very good, and then Palmer got
Palmer
hurt,
went down.
and then they put their backup in, and they were adequate, where he was just basically managing the game,
Yeah.
and he got hurt, and then it just got down on the third, fourth string, and it was no shot, you know.
They ran through a lot, like Ryan Lindley, I think,
Yeah.
and he was on the Pats
Yeah,
preseason.
So, I would. I like the Cardinals a lot. There's just, like you said, there's just so much bad football out there. I mean, the Ravens could very well go to 0-4 today with Michael Vick as the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I know. Yeah, I still get queasy watching Vic play. I know he did his time and he served his punishment.
Yeah.
But just, what bothers me? Once he had an interview. Well, he did many interviews in the last few years. But one of them, he came out and he was pretty much like, when I was with the Falcons, he's like, I didn't even read the playbook. I didn't watch the film. He's like, I just kind of went out there and he did everything off of his athleticism, which tells you something. How good of an athlete he was. But anyways. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about. I don't know. Do you want to do basketball real quick?
Sure.
Because I want to talk a lot about baseball. NBA, not a lot of basketball fans out there.
Yep.
I was reading a few articles today about the upcoming season. I read one on the Celtics. I read one on KG returning to Minnesota.
The most loyal guy in sports.
Yeah, that thing. He signed a 2-year contract too.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. We'll see if he plays it out. But let's talk the Celtics real quick. Brad Stevens. The more I read about this guy and the more I hear his players talk about him,
Yep.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're going to win the NBA championship because I think it's been proven.
Yep.
You need a mega superstar, maybe 1, 2, nowadays 3.
Yep, the big 3 is a new thing.
Man, but I am buying into big time what the Celtics are doing. And I have a huge man crush on Brad Stevens.
I think about halfway through last year, I was like, I don't know where this is going in regards to, and they turned it on at the end of last year, obviously. I don't know where this is going, if the rebuild is right, but the one thing I do think they have their guy in Brad Stevens. I really do. My biggest concern with Brad.
Don't say it. Please don't say it.
Okay.
You're going to say it. He's going to want to go back to college?
I just have a feeling that a really big school, is going to come to him and basically give him an offer he can't refuse.
So obviously he's from Indiana. So if here's my take.
How about Duke?
I've always said Duke, and then I realized Indiana, his tie there.
Yep.
I feel like whether it's now or 10 years from now or 15 years from now, because he's not even 40 years old.
No.
He could go to Indiana forever.
Yep.
That could be his final stop.
Yep.
So in my mind, if he wanted to do that, if Indiana came calling, say they even go out and find a guy, to say Tom Crean's their guy.
Yep.
And he coaches them for the next 10 years. Okay, Brad Stevens is 49, 50 years old. All right. Why not in that time coach the Celtics? Maybe go and get another job in the NBA.
Yeah.
Maybe go take the Duke job, but then end up, full circle, come home to Indiana. So his
does he? I'm not even sure if has he been tied to the. I just think that there's. I don't know. He did such a good job at Butler. To get to back-to-back national championship games at Butler.
But what if you can do it at the professional level? What if he's a competitor. You can just see it in him.
And he does a really good job of being able to. It's the difference between obviously there's a big difference between the NBA and the college just based on the players, and they're getting paid and they're really men as opposed to boys. But you watch a lot of these college coaches that go crazy on the sidelines. You can't do that over 82 games. One, it's 82 games as opposed to what? Maybe if you make it to the NCAA 40,
45.
And two, it just wears on the players. They don't want to deal with that crap.
You're also I think being a coach or a manager in professional sports has got to be one of they're getting paid millions of dollars probably, or hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you're trying to coach and manage these grown men, or sometimes kids.
Yep.
Who are making 10 times as much as you.
Yeah.
So what reason can you give them to listen to your instructions, to follow your lead? How are you going to motivate them, and get them to a point where they'll run through a wall for you?
Yeah.
And I just think Brad Stevens is figuring it out. I think the way him and Danny Ainge are building this team, I think they're going to be very competitive. They're fun to watch.
And I think Danny kind of went to him, when he signed him, he said, look, you're our long-term goal, and we don't, you're going to learn with us, quote, for a lack of, better. Yeah, we know you have no NBA experience, but you're going to learn with us. Do it your way, and we're going to kind of figure it out together. Look, he was on the radio the other day, and he said, and he's 100% right, he goes, we were as close, talking about last year, we were as close to 4th place as we were to 12th place. Yeah. So he knows, there's a lot of work ahead of him.
The margin
is very thin.
It is.
They lose 2 more games, they're in 12th place, and we're sitting there saying, God, they were so bad. They go, I think they were like 41-41, about 500. They get to the 7th spot, kind of get their doors blown off in the playoffs, but it's still a successful year because they just got there.
The article essentially said how Brad Stevens during his time at Butler broke it down to not one game at a time, not one quarter at a time. It was one possession at a time, and if you can win, the more possessions you win, the better chance you have of winning the game.
Yeah.
The article also just talked about how he's the best. I don't know if this is the right term. He's the best free agent the Celtics have.
Yeah.
So, you give him another year or two under his belt. All right, maybe you're gonna see a guy out there who's highly talented, highly skilled, and he sees Brad Stevens, almost like the Doc Rivers effect,
Yeah.
except Doc Rivers was more of like a cool guy,
Yeah.
Fun, let's go try and win.
Yeah.
Brad Stevens is more business-like. Hey, you want to win? We'll come here. Who knows? Maybe he could help them attract some free agents.
I'm also a believer, and I might be crazy on this. If you go out, I always feel like if you go out and trade for a guy, once you have him here, I think they're gonna like it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's, you hear all this stuff about in the NBA, no one wants to come to Boston or everyone wants to go to New York or LA. If you have to go out and trade for someone and basically like give them, maybe they have a year or two left in their contract. I've always felt like you get here, you kind of like, it's a passionate fan base. It is a nice city, So I agree. I think Stevens is your key to the future. Now go get Kevin Durant.
Well, you read my mind. That's so crazy. Obviously I love Kevin Durant, but I wanted to bring up Kevin Durant, and the whole free agent thing, it's going to be the front page all year. How this is his last year in Oklahoma.
Yep.
He's going to be a free agent. Is he going home
Wants
to
to go
Washington?
to Washington.
He's going to go to New York. Like, where's LA? Who? But it's going to dominate the headlines, and that drives me nuts because he's so talented. I want to see him play and be healthy.
Yep.
Because that foot surgery, he came back too quick, sat back out. I want to see.
The weird thing with the NBA, just in general, is it's not like MLB where you can just like keep upping each other. You basically go to them, hey, we're going to offer you the max, but then you have to sell them on everything. You know what I'm saying? You're not really selling each player on the money. You guy like Durant, you're just saying, all right, here's the max, and every other team that's out there is going to offer you the same amount of money. You just have to make a decision if you like the city, you like the team.
City,
Yep.
coach. Do you have a plan in place?
Yeah.
Am I your plan?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna build.
You know what drives me nuts is always everyone's talking about like the marketing. Like people want to go to New York because you can get some like when LeBron was a free agent. Man, if you're that big, you can go anywhere. And
exactly.
You're telling me that LeBron, just as an example, you're telling me that as a LeBron or a Durant would lose that much money in marketing and advertising and that stuff if they went to Boston instead of New York, or they decided to go to New Orleans instead of Los Angeles. I don't buy into that. Maybe in the 70s and 80s, but not in modern day.
Bill Simmons, now that he's with HBO, I don't know what he's going to do.
He's already throwing haymakers at ESPN and Goodell. I was reading. I didn't get to read the whole thing, but
I haven't. I haven't followed up with him lately. I know he's bringing his podcast back, but him and Jalen Rose used to do the best basketball NBA previews.
Jalen Rose was really good.
I love Jalen Rose. I think,
and Mark Jackson. I still like Mark Jackson a lot on the television.
I think I like Mark Jackson too. I think Jalen Rose is. Because he doesn't hold back any punches, but he's not rude.
Yeah.
And he doesn't spill the beans, but he just tells you how it is.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward. I hope Simmons or somebody does something. So I haven't. I just read a couple articles today. It got my juices flowing for the NBA. Basketball is like my.
It was funny the other
love.
day, like on Monday they're not talking about it. Then all of a sudden Tuesday, all these teams are having their their open media days, and it's like holy cow, it's coming up quick. But
two things: Anthony Bennett, who was the number one pick by the Cavs like 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Who did he end up signing with? Philadelphia, Toronto.
He's Canadian.
Yep.
So
is he?
He is.
Okay.
So I bet you he's going to have this will be his. Oh, you're kind of talented year.
Yeah.
Second, this year, and I do this every now and then, just because. Boston sports radio drives me nuts sometimes, and these guys just talk over each other and speak out of their butt. I download the radio.com app, and I listen to a Seattle sports it might be national, but I was listening to it on the Seattle station.
Yep.
It was Tiki Barber and somebody else.
Yeah, that's national.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I think it was CBS. And then I was also listening to The Score.
Yep.
In Chicago, 570.
Okay.
They were bashing Derrick Rose. I know we exchanged a couple messages. He just got hurt, which is crazy because the guy's hurt every time you turn around. Freak play, but still whatever. But you listen to them talk about Rose and the Bulls, and the callers call in,
Yeah.
they are not a fan of him out there, man.
So I enjoy doing that too. I'm home during the day, and Colin Coward's back on
Fox
at
Sports.
Fox Sports, and I always liked him. I know a lot of people hate him. I was always impressed that he held 4 hours of show by himself. He didn't have anyone in there with him.
Yeah.
And he's a big NBA guy, and he was talking about, they kind of were going down a list of guys you would want. And he goes, I would never want Derrick Rose. He's not healthy. He doesn't shoot well enough, from outside. He goes, he's just, and you don't, you never think of it that way. And if you're not out in the field or court, whatever, you're not. It's unproductive, And they've locked him up, right? So he's their guy.
They have him. I don't know when. I think they have a couple more years left with him.
Yeah.
But the rate. They were also talking about.
Here's the problem. And I don't necessarily blame the front office. They've put all their eggs in his basket, and it's just.
Well, they also talked about how they just handed out a big contract to Jimmy Butler.
Yep.
And they're talking about how Jimmy Butler went straight to his head.
Yeah.
And how he's already acting like he's the hot crap around town.
Yeah.
Then they're talking about Joakim Noah, and I thought they Chicago. You'd be excited. And
Yeah.
So it got me thinking, too, Chicago sports right now, they wanted to be like a fake little mini town, city of champions because of, the only thing good they have going right now is the Cubs. Because you look at the Bulls.
The Bears are the worst team in football right now.
Okay, so the Bears are the worst team in football. It's a big fire sale.
Yeah.
You have the Chicago Bulls, who Derrick Rose gets hurt every other day, brand new coach.
And they'll still be all right because the East is weak. They'll still win 45 to 50 games.
You have the Blackhawks, who did they win the Stanley Cup last year?
Yeah, but Patrick Kane's under more fire than any player in sports.
So
right now.
they are not a fan of Patrick Kane.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the Cubs made the playoffs, and they're giving some kind of life to the city. But it's so how quickly, I guess from being from the Boston area and then listening to these other sports towns, it's just kind of funny to, hear the negativity when you look at it from afar and you're like, oh, that team looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
But then you hear what's going on behind the scenes and you're like, oh, that guy
Patrick
sucks.
Kane's had some issues. I'm not sure if he's a good human being.
Just based off his past and he likes to party and drink.
Remember that when he got into a cab? He got into a cab and let's say the cab ride was $101 and he gave him $150. And the cab driver was like, "Hey, you're just a little short or whatever." Yeah. He beat the shit out of the cab driver.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Anyways, we're talking about a guy that's making what, 100 to 150 million?
Yeah.
Put it on your American Express card.
Yeah. So that's basketball talk. Let's get into baseball because there's a bunch of stuff I want to get into with you. First things,
it could be an exciting final weekend in the West.
The AL West.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the National League's pretty much sewn up.
I think everyone's got their spots pretty much.
The Yankees are refusing to lock up this playoff spot. They're letting the Sox come into town and just wipe them around. Yeah, the West.
There's no need to panic. Still got plenty of games left.
Oh man, they losing in extra innings to the Red Sox, who have been playing a lot better lately. But the AL West, so you have the Rangers, the Angels, and the Astros, which is nuts. But
baseball's doing something, and most of the time it's not as important as a final weekend of a football. But every game on Sunday is starting at 3:00.
Is it really?
So every single game is going on at the same exact time.
That makes sense.
So you got a situation. I'm guessing the Rangers are going to wrap up the West by Friday or Saturday because they only need to win one more game.
Oh, okay.
The Angels and the Astros, they could be going for it. They'll be playing simultaneously. Do
you know who they're playing this weekend?
The Angels are at Texas, and the Astros are at Arizona. Now, National League team, you can't hit. You lose a hitter.
Yeah,
that's your drawback of having,
it's tough.
Yeah. A couple years ago, the Red Sox, when they won the World Series, late in September, they went to Colorado. And it didn't end up mad. I think they actually clinched the division the weekend before. Yeah. But if you go out to Colorado and you're in a tight race and you can't hit Ortiz or Napoli, that's huge,
Yeah, no, that's...
and you have to hit Lester or Lackey or whoever was pitching that night. That's big. That's very big.
I want to talk about so many things, and we'll try to fit them in. I need to get your opinion on the Papelbon Harper thing.
Yep.
At first, I was like, good for Papelbon for calling out Harper, and you
Yep.
got to run the ball out.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking to myself, I probably don't see many other people hustle as much as Bryce Harper does.
Yeah.
And literally run into walls and knock himself out.
Yep.
And he plays, every day. And you're getting called out by a guy who
40-plus home runs.
Yeah, he's probably will win the MVP this year
over
for the National League.
300. Yeah.
So you're essentially calling out the NL MVP for not running out one fly ball, especially where you're brand new to the team and you're a relief pitcher.
Yep.
And you know me, I was a P2.
Yep.
I don't know, man. What's your take on that?
You're 100% right. Papelbon was in the wrong, and my concern, he wasn't necessarily in the wrong. Should he have run it out? Absolutely.
He choked him in the dugout.
Yeah, but Papelbon is just taking out all of his frustration of just, quite frankly, not being very good when he went to Washington on Harper.
Now, do you think that it was,
or on the situation?
Do you think Papelbon came to Washington, talked to a few of the guys, and it was also part of that was his frustration for everyone else?
So I actually read an article today about basically the downfall of the Nationals. And this guy, I don't remember who it was, he writes for the Washington Post, and kind of chronicled when they traded for him. The whole clubhouse were Drew Storen guys. Like
really?
They like Drew Storen a lot. Not as a pitcher and as just a teammate and a person. And the guy brought up a good point. The writer, he goes, if you take out the when he blew the save in the 2012 NLDS, and then last year when he couldn't get the last out against the Giants, ended up losing that game in 18 innings. It's been really good for him. And it was really, really tough. There was a lot of people that wouldn't talk to Papelbon. There was a lot of people that thought Storen should have been the guy still.
Well, let's talk about Papelbon for a second. You even when he was entering free agency with the Red Sox,
yep.
I think he went on record and said he wanted to be the highest paid closer.
He wanted to set the
market. And I mean,
came pretty close.
He did, but let's think about you've got one World Series title under your belt.
Yep.
Right? You've got a few saves here and there. He came in and pretty much said, if I get traded, I want to be the closer.
Yep.
I am the closer, else I'm not getting traded. I could definitely see that. Bunch of Drew Storen guys, because didn't he end up punching something? And
he ended. Yep.
So maybe that was doing frustration.
So that was
happened.
part of it. Is he had a no trade clause and Washington was on it. And this was for any team that wanted to trade for him. Is if you're going to trade, he might have had a full no trade clause.
Okay.
Whoever traded for him had to guarantee he was a closer. If you were going to get Jonathan Papelbon in a trade, he had to be the closer. And if you remember Storen's quote when they traded for him, it was like, I've talked to Matt Williams, I've talked to the GM, I've talked to my agent, and we've all talked together, and I'm going to leave it at that. And you're kind of thinking, well, he's probably asked for a trade out of there. It was looking back, bad situation.
What if okay, you have to make him your closer.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I'll make him my closer.
Yeah, and then you put him in the put him in the eighth.
Just go pitch in the eighth. Yeah. But okay, so that gets me to another thing. So all right, so we both kind of agree.
Yeah.
We both agree that Papelbon was in the wrong.
Yep.
Maybe not the time and the place, and not the right person to call out Harper.
Yeah.
What makes Bryce Harper's the best player on that team?
Yep.
He's also might be the best player in the National League, maybe in all of baseball. That's up for debate. Mike Trout and Mookie Betts. But anyway, do you have to be the leader if you are the best player? Because I think a lot of people confuse that sometimes and go, you know what? Bryce Harper's the best player on that team. He's the leader. He should do this. He should do that. I disagree with that. I think it takes some skill to become an effective leader, and it doesn't either. Sometimes it happens right away, and you also have leaders who lead by their actions, and some who lead by their words.
And I think if you're the best player on the team, best player in the league, whatever, you don't have to be a rah guy. Mm-hmm. I think I think if you're putting up 40 home runs, that kind of leads for itself.
You're leading by your actions.
Yeah, you're leading by your action. And look, Yeah, look, a lot of his hustle might be a little bit of fake hustle, and there's some stuff in there, the hair flip and all that stuff where guys are like, oh, geez, you got to be kidding me. But he's out there every night. He's playing, 145, 150 games a year, and he's out there busting his ass. He's really good. So, to answer your question, no, I don't think you need. I mean, did you see, like, Andy Dalton a couple weekends ago, his pregame speech?
Yeah.
My daughter could give a better pregame speech. It was so bad, but that's not him,
I think that's a big
But when you force it on someone, it's even worse.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. So I mean, I
say,
just,
hey, you have to be the team leader. It's like, no.
I've seen it from a professional standpoint. Like,
Yeah.
people put in managerial roles
Yep.
that aren't good leaders.
Yeah.
And then I've seen people not in managerial roles that are great leaders.
Yeah.
And I also think that it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. I think everyone looks at the Bryce Harper, and he's the most talented. He's the best player. So it's kind of like the Tom Brady effect. So everyone's gonna just kind of have this bitterness towards him.
Yep.
But he's maybe he's not a good leader. So go get him some. Go put guys around him that can lead.
Yeah.
And it'll bring out the best in him. So
I mean, you look at, I don't know, just like a 2004 Red Sox. Their quote unquote leaders weren't necessarily the best players.
Kevin Millar
and Veritex and guys like that. Manny didn't lead.
Yeah.
I mean, he put up huge numbers, which led.
Let me ask you a question. Right now, who's the best manager in all of baseball?
I'm gonna go with Bruce Bochy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, Francona's still up there. And I know.
Francona?
Yeah, and I know he hasn't been to the playoffs the last couple of years.
Yeah.
A couple guys, and I was watching the Astros Rangers games, and they threw up the manager of the year candidates in the AL. The obvious, Gibbons, Hinch. I don't remember who the third one was, but two guys that had really,
Yost.
Yeah, Yost was the third one. Two guys that have really impressed me this year. One is Joe Girardi. I think Joe's done a great job.
I was going to tell you how much I dislike Joe Girardi.
Really?
I think he is the most overrated manager in the
I think he's done a really good job.
Of what?
I don't think this Yankees team's that good.
Okay, so then it got me thinking, right? So I was going to ask you, my conversation was, I was going to
Obviously, they're making the playoffs. They're pretty good.
I was going to start the conversation and say Joe Girardi's a terrible manager.
Yep.
And then I was thinking about, all right, well, if I say that, I have to think about, you may ask me who I think is a good manager.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really think of, like, Bruce Bochy
Yep.
would be my first pick. But I just, like, it got me thinking, like, how much, what is it a manager really, how much of a difference does, because with the Red Sox, right, John Farrell leaves.
Yep.
They have a winning record with Torey Lovello.
And they're like playing like 600 baseball with Torey Lovello.
I think they're 28-16.
Yeah.
Since he took over.
Yep.
How much? Because a couple things happened when he took over. They started playing the younger guys.
Yep.
The pressure was off because they're out of the playoff race, and they're playing teams who don't take them seriously. There's no pressure.
Yep.
But then it looks like they're playing better for Lovello.
Yep.
So it just got me thinking, like, does it really matter what a baseball manager does? Like, what's their main job? Just to babysit and make sure people don't fight?
Yeah, in
Keep
layman's
people
terms.
happy?
Yeah, in layman's terms, yeah. Look, all this stuff that they have to handle, a lot of it is pregame and, in the clubhouse and just making sure guys know what's going on. But, I mean, obviously pitching changes, stuff like that. I think you realize how important a manager is when you see what happens in Washington, where you can get all that talent together, and it just, I mean, they might be under 500 this year, and not only be under 500, but just be a mess,
Yeah.
fighting. And look, fights happen, that's happened with really good teams. A lot of these Red Sox teams, you read stuff about guys fighting in the clubhouse or whatever, and you see it in the NFL all the time. Guys are fighting. It happens.
Yeah.
But I think being able to trust your manager and trust, and knowing your personnel, I think that's a huge thing. Just being able to know that the moment's not big enough for these guys, like going forward. Like I'll get, a guy that's really impressed me this year was Joe Madden. I was always, my thing with Joe Madden is yeah, he did a good job in Tampa Bay, but you're in a win-win situation. If you go down there and win, you're a hero. If you don't win, they're like, well, there's no payroll anyway, so you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, imagine if he had a payroll.
Yeah,
imagine if he had some big-name guys.
So he goes to Chicago, and quite frankly, they had some pressure, and he's been fantastic all year. Whole different league, big market. Yep. They never haven't won a World Series in over 100 years.
I'm hot and cold on Joe Madden right now. I'm hot. I think I like what he's done over there. I like Clint Hurdle, what he's done. He's just Pittsburgh's. They seem like every year they're hosting the wild card game.
This would be their third straight year, I think. Yeah.
Joe Girardi. I don't like the way he handles his pitching. I feel like he relies too much on the left, right, and he's all. I just feel like I don't like him. I something about him just bothers me. I sent you a text. I don't think you responded. I sent it to Greg too. Something about Rich Hill reminds me of Cliff Lee.
Well, he's got that, obviously he's a lefty, but he can also, he's a little older. Maybe he's resurrecting his career at an older age.
So that's
Cliff
why.
Lee had to go all the way down to the minors and then came back up.
I don't know the specifics. It's something like that. Cliff Lee, I think he was a little bit younger because Rich Hill, I think, is 35.
Cliff, he probably was like 30, 31.
Yeah.
He wasn't 35.
No. But I just feel like Rich Hill went back to the minors.
It's a great
thought
story.
About calling it quits.
Yeah.
And I've watched him pitch the last 2, 3, 4 games. He's got he's decent, sneaky speed.
Yeah.
91, 92. He's got a pretty good breaking ball. Who knows? Maybe they're just letting him ride out the year and then he's never going to pitch again for the Sox.
Yep.
But I don't know. I feel like he could. I think it might have clicked for him.
And the other guy that I think has done a pretty good job this year, and you've wanted him out for a couple of years, is Sosha. I think they've been banged up. They've been really banged up. I think Weaver just backed out of a start for the end. I mean, that's their guy, and they're so he's got to be in a lot of pain if he's backing out of a start and. The last weekend of the year.
He was throwing like 85 at the beginning of the year. I don't know if he was still. I haven't seen him pitch all year, but
I think for his situation, he's done a good job keeping everything together. Obviously, it's nice to be able to put Mike Trout in the lineup but I was watching like Pujols run around the bases. My goodness, like he's
hitting the 230s.
Yeah,
238 or
and
something.
And the Angels, it was on MLB, so it was one of those like. They were just showing it on the Angels broadcast. And he crosses home plate, and the Angels guy goes, God, he's got 8 more years left on his contract.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, it signed like 11-year deal or something.
Way.
Yeah.
Holy
and they're basically
smokes.
like, what are we going to do with this guy?
Holy smokes.
And he was like limping. Like it was a double in the gap. He could have crawled home, but like it was bad. And he's just done a very good job keeping everyone in line there, I think.
Yeah, I just thought the Angels hit a point where they weren't getting any better. They're just getting worse, and I thought maybe they could spruce it up and bring some energy in with a new skipper. But if he gets them to the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. We'll see. I think Buck Showalter's a decent manager too.
I think he does a good job. And we were talking about this off the air. The Astros, I want to make it clear, if they do not make the playoffs, this is going to sound, it's not a disappointment. Like, it is, but it isn't. They're going to win 84 to 86 games, somewhere around there. Yeah. Most people peg them to lose 90 to 95 games. And it's heartbreaking because they got off to such a good start, gave themselves a huge cushion. And like I said, they almost felt like they were going to cruise control August on, and it just hasn't worked out. But I think it's tough to say it's a disappointment that they don't make the playoffs.
NL MVP, Bryce Harper?
I think so, yeah.
NL Cy Young.
I'm going to go with Greinke.
What?
Yeah.
Jake Arrieta?
Jake Arrieta has only given up 4 earned runs since August 1st.
Yeah. I have some stats here. Oh, I can whip out my stats now. So I wrote these down the other day, right?
Yep.
So you have Jake Arrieta, 21-6, 1.82 ERA.
Yep.
229 strikeouts and 223 innings pitched. His WHIP is .88.
It's unbelievable.
And his opponent's batting average is 187. That's insane to me. Isn't that insane?
What if he throws a no-hitter in the wild card game?
He's got nasty stuff.
He's got a funky little, he gets back here and something about his delivery.
A couple other stats. I just want Jake Arrieta is my pick for NL Cy Young.
If Jake Arrieta wins it, he 100% deserves it. It's not. It's not.
So he starts the
Absolutely,
wild card game.
100%.
And
Yep.
then you have John Lester if you win starting.
That's a
which
nice
isn't bad.
That's a nice game one starter. After a wild card game.
Johnny Lester, I think he was below. So I wrote it down here. His career. Oh, Johnny Lester, where are you at? 3.43 ERA this year, and his career ERA is 3.56.
Yep.
His career WHIP is 1.26, and he's 1.15 this year. So
And he had a tough April. He
started off. I know he missed a little bit of spring training at a late start. Okay, so AL Cy Young winner. Who are you going with?
David Price.
That's my initial thought too. David Price.
And one of the reasons, obviously, he's had a great year. The impact he's had in Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tulowitzki trade was great, but he's only hitting 220 in Toronto. Like David Price has basically been the difference maker.
He's the number one, huh?
Oh my goodness.
Marcus Stroman coming back.
And he's been lights out. Yeah.
How about Marcus Stroman, little guy, tore his ACL in spring training.
Yep.
Just came back, pitching lights out. He's electric. That guy is fun to watch. He's going to make a name for himself in the playoffs. That 1-2 punch him and Price.
Yep.
It's going to be tough. And then you have Adam Wainwright, who ruptured his Achilles.
He's going to pitch out of the bullpen, right?
The fact that he's pitching, pushing off of a mound and he didn't even rupture his Achilles in spring training. It was
he's a guy that's closed in the playoffs before, so he knows how to close. He was a closer of the 2006 team. Yeah,
he closed the nasty curveball.
Yeah, remember that?
Who did he strike out on?
Carlos Beltran.
No, that was in the NL. That was in the NLDS, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was. I'm
Beltran
thinking
almost fell over with it. It was like it started at his head and landed at his knees. It was unbelievable.
Couple guys who does have
AL MVP.
Oh, AL MVP. That's right. Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, it's Donaldson.
I got to go with Donaldson.
Yeah.
Oh well. What about Trout?
I think Donaldson. It's his year.
So Donaldson in 154 games played. Now these notes were as of 9/29. He had 122 RBI.
He has 40-plus home runs, too, right?
He had 41 home runs, 40 doubles. Batting average dipped below 300. It's 299. Man, that guy's... No, okay, so here's what I was thinking. My initial answer to that was Josh Donaldson.
Yep.
And I think the runner-up will be Mike Trout.
Yep.
Take Josh Donaldson out of that lineup in Toronto.
Yep.
Are they still a playoff team? And then take Mike Trout out of that lineup for the Angels.
It's valid because, no, the Angels aren't.
They're not even close without Mike Trout. You take Josh Donaldson out of Toronto's lineup, you've got two other guys hitting 40 home runs. You have Batista.
I think a guy like Trout is like the definition for protection of Pujols because he might not hit behind him, but people fear Trout more than Pujols, so Pujols will get some better pitches to hit.
I agree with that. The other way you can look at it with Toronto too is they seem like they've been teetering on the edge the last couple of years.
Yep.
And they're missing that one piece. Maybe Josh Donaldson was that one bat.
Yeah.
That helped propel them to the playoffs.
Yep.
To the division title. So I think Donaldson should win it. A couple guys. So the Sox, they need an ace.
Yep.
Right. So you're gonna go trade some of your prospects for Sonny Gray, for a Chris Sale.
Now is the Sonny Gray thing, is that just names people are throwing out?
Yes. Well, because with Oakland's past about
wanting to get rid of guys,
dealing pitchers, restocking the farm system. David Price, free agent, gonna probably run over $200 million.
Especially after this year. And is he really good in the playoffs? My goodness.
Third most innings pitched this season.
Yep.
Okay, and he will still have to pitch in the playoffs. 220 and a third. Zach Greinke, who's probably gonna opt out. Right,
yep.
Demand a large contract. Sixth most innings pitched at 214 and 2/3. And then you have
sixth most this year by any pitcher or in his career?
No, this season.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm just thinking, a season heading into free agency,
yeah.
I just think that they're throwing a lot. Sonny Gray, 11th most innings pitched. Sonny Gray's not going to be pitching in the playoffs. Greinke and Price are going to be.
Yep.
The other guy I wanted to talk about was James Shields. So there's been a big rumor out there about James Shields for Pablo Sandoval.
Yep.
Equal contracts.
Yep.
James Shields tied for league lead in home runs given up with 37. He's also tied for the most walks given up with 81.
Yeah.
He pitches a lot of innings. He'll take the ball. He'll pitch for you. But
Yep.
is he any good?
He's
given up 37 home runs.
He's in a pitcher-friendly ballpark too.
And he's walked 81 guys, which is tied for the most in baseball.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing that did surprise me was Scherzer was
Scherzer's ever since the All-Star break, he's had a struggle.
he's given up 27 dongs this year.
Yeah. It's a lot.
27 dongs. So I don't know, Chris. You think there's any shot of the Sox getting a Chris Sale?
I think there's a better shot at getting Sonny Gray, just because I think that the Athletics are
Is
doing
he the
their
answer?
thing.
Is Sonny Gray the answer?
He could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's filthy.
Now, would you rather trade a couple of the prospects for Sonny Gray for Chris Sale, or would you rather go out and give David Price $200 million?
I'll take David Price because he's pitched in the East. He's pitched in the AL East, pitched in Yankee Stadium. I mean, other than what? Really, 2 half seasons, so 1 full year, he's been in the AL East, you know? Part of your look. So if we look at the Red Sox the way they sit right now, I'm still of the belief if your name isn't Xander Bogaerts or Mookie Betts, you're available.
Okay, yeah.
I once heard a GM say part of the reason why you stack your farm system is so you can trade some of them.
Yeah.
So someone brought this up. They're like, all right, so let's say you have a list right now of 10 guys that you really like. Like, you can look at the Red Sox farm system, pitchers, maybe not farm system, but guys that are playing up here now. 10 guys that you really like. Reality is, how many are you going to hit on them? How many of those? Maybe 3?
We talked about that on Felgram
Yeah.
yesterday, yeah.
Maybe 3, maybe 4. I think you've hit on Bogarts. You've hit on Betts. Owens has looked good.
Would you be okay with Justin Verlander?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's pitched great the second half.
I think what we've learned about Justin Verlander is he struggled to kind of get used to not being the 95 to 97 Justin Verlander. Yeah. Very similar to what Pedro had to go through and Schilling had to go through, is they just got to learn, hey, I'm still going to be very successful. I'm just going to have to throw 88 to 90 or whatever.
Got to wrap things up. We're approaching an hour already, which is crazy. These things go by pretty fast.
We could talk forever.
Yeah, I know. I know with the baseball playoffs coming up and then the off season, we'll be doing a lot of baseball talk. But any last comments before we end this thing? Yeah,
one thing I wanted, 2 things I wanted to touch upon, and I was going to talk last week, but I was sick. Rex Ryan, you were 100% right on Rex Ryan. I don't care if your team gives up 40 points. I don't care if your team gives up 40 points the way that they gave up 40 points, where Tom Brady's just sitting there picking them apart and they're doing nothing about it. The penalties, the stupidity. And even after the game, they asked, because you remember he had that comment, he doesn't know who Deion Lewis's name is. And then, one of the reporters go, do you know his name now? And he goes he said something like, no, I don't know his name. Tell him next time to run the damn ball. It's not a muscle contest, Rex. It's not what it's about anymore, buddy. It's
a winning football.
Yeah, it's about guess what? It wasn't in the game plan to run the ball. They made you look dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, why would they run it? They couldn't. They could. It's just, and I kind of sat back and thought about it. He's like 2-12 against Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And obviously everyone picks out the playoff game that he won, and I feel like everyone counts that as like 6 wins. Yeah. But historically, he's been horrible against. And he brought him up again this week. He talked about Belichick. It's like, we don't play again till I think it's the Monday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You gotta let it go. It's embarrassing.
I would have to. I heard that I heard a small clip from the press conference.
Yep.
Him talking about them running up the score.
Yep.
But I got to hear the whole context, because did he just randomly bring that into the conversation, or did somebody ask him?
I think it was more towards because they kind of beat the crap out of the Dolphins. I think it was tied around that. Were you not running up the score, but different? And then it kind of came back to the week before.
Yeah.
the Patriots were doing it or whatever. I just he strikes me as like he would be like if he like coached high school football in Texas, he'd be like a 10-time champion because like he just like that high school mentality, rah. It's
got a shelf life in
Yeah.
the NFL. I think in all professional sports, it's not going to last forever. So, anything else?
Yeah, I was and this was something I was thinking about this the last couple weeks. Rob Gronkowski. First of all, I do coaches not like put him in their game plan as defensive coaches. He's wide open. I don't think people appreciate how good he is. Like I do, but like you might be watching the best tight end in the history of football.
Yeah,
He is the biggest mismatch in all of football.
I think with him, if he can stay healthy, like Tony Gonzalez was so good because I feel like his longevity.
Yeah, and he was
did it
playing until
for
he was
a while.
like 38, and he played every year, every game, and
Gronk's a big guy. He does a lot more than just catch passes. I mean, he takes some beatings and he does some block.
And he's been hurt.
And he's been hurt.
Yeah.
So if he stays healthy, and it's all said and done, I think you're absolutely right.
I just think a lot of people around here, they love the lifestyle, and who wouldn't? He looks like he's having fun with everything. He seems like, and he strikes me as one of those guys that he goes out and has fun, but he never takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
I think people just love that about him, and he's like a big dumb animal sometimes, but I don't think they appreciate like just really how good he is. Like he is amazing.
He makes it look easy.
Yeah.
He's a big target for Brady.
Yeah, and there was after the Steelers game, they had Dan Koppen on, and they were talking about Gronkowski had the 3 touchdowns, and he said Brady used to always tell him, he said Gronkowski's never covered in the red zone, and he goes, I think it was like Felger was like, well, sometimes I'll double team him. And he goes, no, Brady always says he's never covered. He's always an option no matter how many guys you have on because he's that good.
Does he score 25? Does he catch 25 touchdowns? Let me ask you 2 questions. Does Gronkowski catch 25 touchdown passes this year, and does Brady throw for 55?
I'm going to say no and no.
Really?
I just think it's so tough.
Okay. All right.
I think it's more likely that Gronkowski catches 25 because he's such a weapon in the red zone.
Are you saying you're saying no to 16-0?
Can I call?
We got a no, and a maybe. It's very hard.
You look at the schedule. So the ones that stick out to me. So I'm assuming they're going to go 8-0 at home because everyone's scared to come in.
They go to Denver, right?
Yeah, they go to Denver.
Yeah.
They go to the Giants.
They do go to the
They
Giants.
go to the Giants.
Okay.
They go to Denver.
Dallas. But
They go to Indianapolis. I mean, I feel like that could be a tight game, but I also feel like they could put up 100 points on them.
Watch them finish like 10-6.
Yeah. Belichick's on the hot seat.
Jimmy G's in there getting reps at the second half of the season. I was going to say after the All-Star break, but they don't do that in the NFL. So the bye week, by the way, week 4.
It's the earliest you can have it.
Man, and I do not think at all it's the NFL trying to screw the Pats,
No.
but it's just a terrible.
And they were talking
All
about
around.
it on they do the player interviews in the middle of the week, and a lot of them were saying, yeah, look, it's probably the worst week you can have the bye week. You ideally you'd like to have it at week 8 or 9, right in the middle there, but
Yeah.
especially after you play the Jaguars, and you feel like a lot of the guys didn't even break a sweat. It's like we've had 2 bye weeks.
That I'm gonna look for. I totally expect that leading up to the Colts game that some new article or some new scandal will break because
Some referee knew that Jastrzemski was doing
unnamed sources.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, good talk.
Maybe do it next week.
Yeah, we'll do it again soon.
Okay.
All right. See you, Groogs.
See ya.
You can stop. Can you erase it?
Hey, Luke. Luke. Come here. Come here. Come here. Okay, go the other way.
Okay.